Nietzsche once wrote that those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. He was not talking about literal dancing. He was describing the inner power of a man who moves to his own rhythm, unaffected by the noise of the crowd. In the same way, when it comes to women, the man who can hold his ground in silence commands more respect than the one who tries to charm with endless words. We live in a world that tells men to constantly explain themselves, to speak, to confess, to open up on demand. But Nietzsche knew something different. Words can expose you, weaken your position, and invite judgment. Silence, on the other hand, forces others to lean in. It creates mystery, and mystery draws curiosity, which is the first step to influence. Watch closely the next time you see a man and a woman interact. The man who talks too much, over-explains, and constantly tries to prove his worth ends up surrendering his power without realizing it. The man who speaks rarely, but with intent, keeps her wondering. What is he thinking? Why is he not reacting? This uncertainty is magnetic. Nietzsche would argue that the less you reveal, the more control you keep. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is a strategy. Your body language, your eyes, your posture. These speak volumes without a single word leaving your lips. When you master them, you no longer need to fight for attention. You command it naturally, and here is the truth. Most men fail because they try to win women with verbal persuasion, thinking they can convince attraction. They talk themselves out of respect. Nietzsche's philosophy turns that on its head. You win by letting her convince herself. A man grounded in silence carries himself differently. He is not restless, he is not performing. He moves deliberately, with slow, measured gestures. He listens without rushing to fill the space. This quiet confidence signals one thing: self-sufficiency. And self-sufficiency is the single most attractive quality a man can project. It says, I do not need you to feel whole. I am already whole. Nietzsche rejected the herd mentality, the idea that you should conform to what everyone else is doing. In relationships, the herd tells men, you must constantly text her, you must entertain her with jokes, you must shower her with compliments. But the man who resists this, who is not constantly available, who answers slowly and with purpose, triggers a deeper instinct. He makes her invest. An investment creates value. This is not about arrogance. It is about preserving your energy and refusing to hand over your emotional power for free. Nietzsche believed that all relationships, romantic or otherwise, are, at their core, power exchanges. If you are always giving, always speaking, always explaining, you are placing yourself in the weaker position. The man who understands this keeps his cards close, revealing only what serves his purpose. Imagine a chess game. The novice player makes big, obvious moves to show his plan. The master barely moves at all, but every small shift changes the entire game. Silence works the same way. When you speak less, every word you do speak carries more weight. She listens more closely because she knows you don't waste breath on meaningless talk. Nietzsche's life was proof of his principle. He was not a man who needed validation. He walked away from friendships, romances, even entire communities, because he refused to dilute his truth to fit their expectations. His words were precise, his silences were deliberate. He understood that influence often comes not from what you say, but from what you withhold. In your own life, start noticing the urge to explain yourself. The next time you feel the need to justify your choices, resist it. When she asks where you were, do not spill every detail. When she tests you with a playful challenge, do not rush to prove your worth. Smile, hold her gaze, let the silence do the work. That pause will often speak louder than the most perfect answer you could craft. Understand this. Outsmarting a woman is not about trickery or manipulation. It is about mastery of self. It is about recognizing that in every interaction, the one who needs less has the upper hand. And you cannot project that you need less if you are constantly speaking to fill the void. Your silence becomes the shield that protects your value and the sword that cuts through her defenses. Nietzsche saw human relationships as arenas of subtle competition, not a battle of swords, but of wills. And in that battle, the man who controls his tongue controls the tempo. He dictates the pace. He decides when the next move is made. He makes her dance to music only he can hear. When you stop playing by the rules everyone else follows, you start seeing results they never will. You will notice women begin leaning toward you in conversation. They will speak more, reveal more, and work harder to pull reactions out of you. This is the moment you realize you no longer need to chase. You have shifted the gravity of the interaction. Nietzsche's silent power is not about being cold or detached. It is about being intentional. You are not ignoring her. You are listening with purpose, observing her deeper than most men even think to. And when you finally choose to speak, it is with precision. Your words are arrows, not scattered stones. They hit their mark because they are rare. From this point on, understand one thing. The less you try to impress, the more impressive you become. Silence forces her to value your attention. And when your attention becomes valuable, so do you. Nietzsche understood that human behavior is driven by hidden forces: desire, insecurity, ego, and fear of the unknown. He wrote about how people mask their vulnerabilities with noise, distraction, and constant activity. Women, like men, use words to test, provoke, and draw out emotional reactions. But when you refuse to engage on command, you disrupt their rhythm. That disruption is your advantage. Think of it like this. Every time a woman challenges you, whether with sarcasm, teasing, or subtle disapproval, she is opening a door to see if you will walk in. Most men step through instantly, offering explanations, jokes, or defenses, but the man who remains calm, who does not immediately give her what she seeks, flips the power dynamic. Instead of you reacting to her frame, she now reacts to yours. Nietzsche would call this a reversal of the will to power. She begins seeking approval from you, because you are no longer chasing hers. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting her own words back at her without interference. And here is the subtle trap. It forces her to hear herself more clearly, to question her own statements, to fill the gap you leave. Women are experts at reading emotional cues. If your silence is laced with insecurity, they sense it immediately. But if your silence radiates self-assurance, it draws them closer. The difference is in your inner posture. Silence born from fear creates distance. Silence born from strength creates intrigue. Nietzsche's entire philosophy rests on this principle. Mastery of the self transforms how others respond to you. The beauty of silence is that it exposes truth. In the absence of your verbal defenses, her own intentions become clearer. Is she speaking to connect, to manipulate, to test boundaries? By not rushing to answer, you give her room to reveal more than she intended. This is why Nietzsche warned against impulsive speech. Once you react, you lose the advantage of seeing the unfiltered truth. This does not mean you remain mute in every situation. Strategic silence is about choosing when to speak and making your words feel earned. When you finally answer, it should feel deliberate, as if each word carries weight. This scarcity gives your voice value. People do not respect what they can get in unlimited supply. This applies to your time, your energy, and yes, your words. Silence also plays directly into the psychology of curiosity. When a woman cannot fully read you, her mind works overtime to close the gap. She analyzes your expressions, your tone, your pauses. She wonders what you are thinking, and the more she wonders, the more invested she becomes. This is the same principle Nietzsche lived by. Do not hand people the complete picture of who you are. Let them assemble it piece by piece, on your terms. Another layer to this is control of tempo. Most men fall into the conversational rhythm set by the woman. They match her speed, her tone, her energy. But when you slow the pace, when you let silences stretch just long enough, you create tension. This tension is not discomfort for you, it is discomfort for her. And discomfort creates a pull toward resolution, which often comes in the form of her leaning closer, sharing more, or seeking your approval. Nietzsche described life as a constant negotiation of dominance, not in the crude physical sense, but in the realm of ideas, emotions, and influence. Your silence signals that you are not negotiating for attention. You already own your value. That forces her to reassess hers in your presence. This reassessment often shifts the balance in your favor without you lifting a finger. Here is where the trap fully forms. In her mind, your restraint becomes a challenge. She begins to believe that if she can get you to react, she will have won some part of your attention, and so, she invests more. She becomes more open, more expressive, more revealing. You meanwhile maintain your calm position, gathering insight while giving little away. This is not manipulation, it is simply allowing human psychology to work in your favor. Nietzsche's own relationships were often marked by this dynamic. He did not compete for attention. He allowed others to orbit around his presence, drawn in by the gravitational pull of his certainty. Whether they admired him or misunderstood him, they could not ignore him. This is the essence of silent dominance. It does not beg to be seen, it demands to be noticed. To apply this in your own life, begin practicing the art of measured responses. When she sends a message, do not rush to reply. When she makes a provocative statement, let it breathe. Hold her gaze, but do not immediately fill the space with reassurance or wit. Allow her to experience the weight of your attention without the distraction of constant words, and understand this. Silence is not passive, it is active control of the frame. It is choosing the battlefield where you have the advantage. It is the refusal to play on her timeline. And most importantly, it is the embodiment of Nietzsche's belief that true strength is self-mastery, not domination over others. You are not silencing her. You are silencing the part of yourself that needs to win her approval. In this way, silence becomes more than a tactic. It becomes a philosophy of life. It teaches patience, observation, and emotional discipline. It separates you from the noise of desperate men who reveal themselves too quickly, and in that separation you rise above the crowd. Silence is not just a momentary tactic. It is a long-term strategy that molds how a woman perceives you over days, weeks, and months. Nietzsche believed that reputation is built not on constant assertion but on consistent demonstration of inner control. When your presence speaks louder than your words, people begin to ascribe greater value to you. The first principle here is scarcity. Humans instinctively value what is rare. When you rarely speak, when you do not always reveal your thoughts, you create an economy of attention where your words are currency. The less frequently you spend them, the more they are worth. In relationships, this forces a woman to weigh your every statement more carefully. She listens because she knows you don't waste speech. The second principle is mystery. Nietzsche warned that total transparency often kills attraction. When everything about you is easy to understand, interest fades. Silence preserves mystery by leaving certain aspects of your mind and emotions veiled. She sees fragments of your thinking, not the full blueprint. This allows her imagination to fill in the gaps, often in ways that elevate your perceived value. You must also understand the role of pacing. When you maintain a calm tempo in both conversation and action, you set the rhythm of the interaction. Most men allow women to dictate speed. They respond instantly to messages, rush to fill pauses, and match emotional highs with equal energy. But if you deliberately slow the pace, you create a dynamic where she must adapt to you. This inversion of control subtly elevates your position in her mind. Long-term silence is not about total withdrawal. It is about moments of absence that enhance moments of presence. When you disappear from a conversation, when you take longer to respond, when you allow space between interactions, you increase anticipation. That anticipation is powerful. It makes your reappearance more impactful. She begins to look forward to your input, not because you are scarce out of necessity, but because you are scarce by choice. Nietzsche also spoke about the will to power in the context of self-respect. When you withhold words, you are making a statement. Your time and attention are not for everyone, and they are not given on demand. This self-respect projects outward. A woman who recognizes this will adjust her approach to maintain access to your attention. She becomes more deliberate, more thoughtful, more invested. Another layer is emotional contrast. If you are consistently silent, your eventual words carry amplified weight. Imagine a man who rarely comments on appearances suddenly saying, "You look incredible today." That statement lands with force because it is rare. It is not drowned out by constant flattery or casual remarks. The contrast makes it valuable. Silence makes your compliments, your humor, even your criticism more potent. Over time, this pattern builds a distinct image in her mind. You are not a man who chases approval. You are a man whose approval is earned. She does not see you as someone who is easily swayed by charm, manipulation, or pressure. She sees you as someone who stands on his own foundation, unaffected by the emotional storms around him. This is the kind of man Nietzsche described as a law unto himself. However, your silence must always be backed by genuine substance. If there is nothing behind the quiet, no discipline, no ambition, no strength, then it becomes emptiness, not power. Your silence must feel purposeful, not accidental. It must be the natural result of a mind that chooses its battles, not a cover for insecurity. The long-term effect of this is subtle but undeniable. Over weeks and months, she starts to view you as a fixed point, someone unshaken, someone who is not reactive. This is magnetic because most people are in constant reaction mode, swept away by the noise of the world. You, by contrast, remain centered. This center becomes the gravitational pull that draws her back again and again. Nietzsche often spoke of the rare individual who shapes his environment instead of being shaped by it. Your controlled silence does exactly that. It bends the rhythm of interaction to your preference. It forces her to measure her words, to adjust her energy, to think before she acts. This is how you shape her perception without a single overt demand. The final point here is consistency. Silence works only if it is part of your natural identity. You cannot deploy it as a temporary trick and then revert to constant chatter. It must be who you are, a man who knows when to speak and when not to, a man whose quiet presence commands more respect than another man's loudest declarations. When you commit to this, you transform from someone she talks to into someone she thinks about when you're not around. Your absence will carry as much weight as your presence. That is when you know silence has done its work, not when it shuts her up in the moment, but when it occupies her mind in the quiet after you've gone. Silence is a weapon, but like any weapon, it must be sharpened. Nietzsche understood that inner strength determines the outer impact of your presence. If your silence feels uncomfortable to you, it will never command respect from others. This is why he emphasized mental exercises to reinforce inner composure. These practices will turn your quiet into authority. The first exercise is embracing stillness. Spend time in an environment without distractions. No phone, no music, no conversation. Sit, breathe, and focus on observing. Most people panic when stripped of noise because silence forces them to face themselves. When you become comfortable in stillness, you project calm in social situations. This calm unsettles those addicted to constant stimulation. The second exercise is thought reservation. Nietzsche believed that the ability to withhold opinion until the right moment signals power. Train yourself to avoid giving instant reactions. When someone seeks your response, take a breath, let a pause, sit, weigh your words before releasing them. Over time, you will notice that people lean in, waiting for your input. The third is the gaze hold. In conversation, silence paired with steady eye contact amplifies dominance. Do not fidget, do not glance away too quickly. Maintain your gaze without aggression. Just steady presence. A calm, unbroken gaze makes people feel their words are being measured, not simply received. This keeps you in control without a single spoken challenge. Next is the controlled withdrawal. Nietzsche often described the power of walking away, not out of anger, but out of choice. In practice, this means knowing when to remove yourself from a conversation or situation without excuse. When you exit on your terms, you demonstrate that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. The fifth exercise is mental rehearsal of silence. Before entering situations where conversation will happen, rehearse moments where you will not speak. Visualize yourself sitting calmly while others fill the air. This primes you to be deliberate rather than reactive. By the time you are in the real moment, silence feels like a decision, not hesitation. Then there is resisting the urge to correct. Many men break their own dominance by constantly correcting or defending themselves. Nietzsche saw this as a sign of insecurity. If someone misinterprets your words or intentions, resist the urge to fix it immediately. Allow misunderstandings to linger if they do not harm you directly. Your silence implies that their opinion is irrelevant. The seventh exercise is self-containment. Avoid oversharing about your life, especially in early interactions. Share selectively and never dump your personal struggles without purpose. Nietzsche valued the man who remained an enigma, someone whose depth is sensed but not fully known. This makes every revealed detail feel earned. The final and most important is alignment with purpose. Silence without purpose becomes awkward. Silence with purpose feels magnetic. When you live with a clear direction, whether it's mastering a skill, building a career, or pursuing a philosophy, your quiet moments radiate intent. People sense that your mind is occupied by something greater than casual chatter. When these exercises become habits, your silence transforms. It is no longer the absence of words. It is the presence of discipline, composure, and focus. Nietzsche knew that true dominance does not shout, it stands firm. When you embody that, women notice not just the lack of noise, but the force behind it. In time, you will see that you speak less, yet your influence grows. Your words become events, your absence becomes felt, and when you finally choose to speak, the room leans in, not because you demand it, but because your silence has already commanded it. The moment you become predictable, you lose the edge that Nietzsche considered essential for influence. People, especially women, quickly adapt to consistent patterns. If they can anticipate every move, they strip away the mystery that fuels attraction and respect. Your silence and presence must evolve. You must stay unreadable. The first step is breaking routine interaction. If you always respond within seconds, delay your reply. If you always initiate conversations, stop for a while. This unpredictability forces others to adjust to you, rather than you adjusting to them. Nietzsche's philosophy thrives when others must adapt to your rhythm. Second, vary the intensity of your presence. Sometimes be deeply engaged, attentive, focused, observant. Other times be distant, mentally elsewhere, even in the same room. This oscillation creates a push and pull effect. It prevents people from placing you into a fixed emotional category. Third, control the timing of your insights. Do not always speak when expected. Wait until the discussion has moved on, then insert a concise, impactful observation. This delayed input makes your words stand out and forces people to reframe the conversation around you. Fourth, introduce strategic disappearances. Nietzsche valued withdrawal as an art form. Vanish from certain social settings for days or weeks without explanation. When you return, you bring curiosity with you. The absence rewrites your image. People remember the moments you weren't there as much as the times you were. Fifth, protect the core of your philosophy. Share enough to inspire curiosity, but never reveal the full architecture of your beliefs or intentions. Keep certain motivations private. Even those closest to you should feel they have not reached the deepest layer of your mind. Sixth, engage in the unexpected. Change the tone when people least expect it. If you've been silent for a while, suddenly take command of a conversation. If you're known for seriousness, insert a sharp moment of wit. These pivots remind people you cannot be confined to one archetype. Seventh, master the element of surprise and action. Appear at places people don't expect to see you. Engage in activities that clash with their assumptions about you. If they think they understand you completely, shatter that belief with behavior that is still aligned with your deeper principles. Finally, guard your emotional climate. Never allow someone else's mood to dictate yours. Whether they are joyful, angry, or anxious, remain centered. People respect and fear those whose emotions are not easily influenced. It tells them they do not control your state of being. When you maintain unpredictability, your power never dulls. You become a figure people study, yet never fully map. Nietzsche knew that control was not about domination alone. It was about shaping perception. By managing the mystery around you, you keep that perception in your grasp. The quiet, unreadable man is not passive. He is deliberate. His silence carries weight because it is paired with movement that cannot be predicted. In this way, every word, every glance, and every absence holds meaning. And meaning, in the end, is what makes a presence unforgettable. If you value strength, mystery, and unshakable presence, stay with us. This is just the beginning. Subscribe to the Inner Citadel now and sharpen your mind for true dominance. This is the Brotherhood. See you in the next one.